Sister.
This was good.
It was good. I don't like the answers or the lack thereof.
True.
I feel like I've been hit with a lot of unsolved in the last 2 weeks. But overall, I feel like I've watched some horrible crime scene footage. I've seen some shit doing this podcast, and this one wasn't so bad, guys.
Yeah.
No, if you get cringed out, you could watch this. It's okay. And it's short. It was like an hour.
Did you know about this case before I mentioned it?
Dog, not at all.
Not at all?
Am I crazy? Is this like a well-known thing?
So I knew about it because I've watched BuzzFeed Unsolved since they came out, and this was BuzzFeed Unsolved's very first episode.
Oh, okay. I haven't gone through all the OG episodes, but Audie, why don't you tell us what documentary we're talking about today?
So, let's start with, it's not technically a documentary, once again. It's just a short, 30-minute episode. You can find it on YouTube. It's called The Somerton Man Cold Case. And then it keeps going. It's a really long title. It's The Somerton Man Cold Case, The Body on the Beach Murder Mystery.
Australia,
yeah. But basically, if you're from Australia, which, hi Australian listeners, but if you're from Australia, you know this case. This is one of the biggest, it's like John Bonet over there.
Okay, yeah, and see, I didn't know, but this shit has me, it's almost like a conspiracy to me now. Now I'm sitting there thinking, what the fuck happened?
But this was really good. It's on YouTube. We'll link it in the description of this episode. So we open up with ballet.
There's a lot of ballet in this.
So listen.
And nice calf muscles. Can you kind of walk us through, Audie, what happens?
So basically, on a very well-known beach in Australia, the Somerton Beach, a dead man was found, and no one knows who he is or how he died or how he got there.
And he's propped up with his head against this wall, so he's almost like he's watching the beach, but homie's dead.
And it's December 1st, 1978.
And all of his clothes have the tags cut out of them.
Sewn out of them. Why?
Why?
Can we just talk about how his eyes are completely black? They don't go into
Well,
it.
he's dead, Audie.
My eyes wouldn't turn black if I died.
I'm not sure you know that.
I do. Do you know the amount of dead body photos I've had to see doing this podcast?
We do this for you.
That was the first dead body I've seen with full blacked out eyes.
Maybe he was an alien?
And it is a black and white photo, so God knows. Maybe I'm just being a dick and maybe his fucking eyes were.
Said maybe I'm being a dick.
I mean, most of the time I am.
So the other thing is his shorts have this, not his shorts. He's not in tidy whities on the beach. He's in a long khakis and he has a full suit on. But there's this note, okay, that we're gonna get to, but it's in this secret pocket.
It's not a secret pocket. It's just
it's a hidden pocket in the seam.
It's super tiny, in his back pocket, so everyone just thought it was lint.
Everyone thought it was lint?
Yeah, I mean, it's super tiny.
But he had this note that basically said it is finished, and it's from a book that we'll tell you about in a moment.
Because all of his labels are gone, all the weirdness, no one knew who he was.
His fingerprints were untraceable?
Something like that, or maybe fingerprinting just hadn't come into play yet. But everyone's just oh, so he's a spy. Of course.
Logical. Okay, 0 to 100. He's a spy.
Right. Because that's just what we assume when nobody comes forward to identify somebody.
That's not really the first thing I go to.
So people thought, well, nobody came forward. Maybe he's foreign. Maybe he came here from somewhere.
Right, okay.
And this autopsy points to this man being poisoned. Fun times. And apparently, this guy was ripped as hell, and all we hear about is how huge his calves were. So they're assuming, because the only way that you can have huge calves is to be a ballerina.
So now he's a spy that was in the Russian ballet, that was also popping pills. None of this is really adding up for me yet.
I just want to talk about Gramir, who comes in only to tell us that he is a former ballet dancer, and that if your calves are big, then you just have dancer's calves.
You have dancer's calves. That's exactly how he said it. I'm going to hear that shit forever. And I'm like, you know what? No, I like nachos before ballet. Look, I'm here for the class credit.
Up to 1948, the dancer's body would have been more solid, more muscular. To be a dancer, a man had to have more developed calves and legs. So it's possible that Somerton man, if he had large calves, could have had dancing calves.
So because of the circumstances, they took a death mask of the man before they buried him to hopefully help him.
A death mask?
Do you not know what a death mask is?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
When they make a...
They make a cast of the body.
That just sounds so much better than a death mask.
Well, it's from, basically just the neck up. It's just their face to preserve the face.
Like a portrait statue.
Basically, yeah. It's it kind of looks like a bust.
But you called it a death mask.
That's what it's called.
I picture fucking Holocaust mask. That's awful.
No.
A death mask.
Yeah, look it up.
Is this just you?
No, look at this is the term. I swear to you, this is the thing, because literally go back to episode 5, John List, what did he have? His death mask made, and that's how they found him?
Really?
Yes. And it wasn't a weird thing to you then. Why are we fucking 55 episodes later and this is weird to you now?
60-something, actually, but, like, it seems not right. A death mask? That just sounds so violent.
So on June 14th, the man is buried, and it was really nice. Like, a bunch of the locals from around the area came forward, and they paid for a plot for his land and his headstone. Do you want to know what the headstone reads?
Oh, well, I'll be damned. You're right, it's a death mask. Also, look how scary it is when they have facial hair.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. Oh, is this Abraham Lincoln? No. So this man's tombstone reads, "Here lies the unknown man from Somerton Beach," which was, at least it's nice. At least the locals paid for that.
Right.
So the case just goes cold for months, and they find the tiniest piece of paper in his pocket after those months. We learn that the piece of paper says Tama Shud, which translates to "it is ended," and it's from it's like the final words in this really rare, almost ritualistic book.
Mm-hmm.
So they start just asking around, like, hey, there can't be that many copies of this book, right? Like, who has it and who has this piece torn out of it? Someone calls in and is like, yeah, that book, oh, yeah, someone threw it in the backseat of my car 6 months ago when my window was rolled down.
I'm pretty sure I have it, man.
What the? I'm sorry. If someone just threw a fucking book in the back of my car that looks like this book, it looks like a ritualistic book.
It does. It looks like a spell book.
I would not just keep that shit. I would turn that shit over so quickly.
That guy sleeps with his closet door open. Some people are built different.
So in the back of the book, there was a bunch of strange letters and a phone number of a 27-year-old woman who lived within 5 minutes walking distance of where the body was found.
There's also a code that we never really get answers to.
So they take this woman and they show her his death mask to see if she recognizes him. And she literally almost faints.
She just starts crying hysterically.
She doesn't start crying. She just almost faints, looks there, is like super stressed out, and she just like looks to the floor. And they keep asking her if she knows him, and she's like, nope, I don't know. I have no idea. And they're like, but you won't look at him. So I think you might know him, bitch. So because she says that she doesn't know him, they're just at another dead end. And this case goes cold for years. So eventually, in like the 1990s, I think, one detective came up and started looking at crime scene photos. They start looking at this specific phone book from 1947 because they want to try and find this woman again. And literally, he goes through every night for 30 minutes. He just calls every fucking number in this phone book to see if they're still there or if they know where she is. Because apparently she changed her address a lot. So he finally finds her. And he finds out that she had passed away 2 years before.
And doesn't she have a son?
Yes, she has a son who had passed away 2 months before he found him. But he was a fucking ballet dancer. Coincidence?
I think not. He also had the same...
Can we talk about that?
He actually was really good.
I was like, oh, your arches.
That form.
Yeah, I was like, look at that attitude. Okay.
But he also looks so much like our victim on the beach.
He does. He has very specific qualities about his face, and we go through a lot with this. And I found this really interesting because, random tidbit about me, I used to draw portraits, like realistic portraits of people. And when doing that, you just notice the tiniest details about people's faces. It changes to do so. And this guy has attached earlobes, which is a genetic trait. And his teeth, there was like 2 teeth that were gone. They were missing. This victim had the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the chances of having both of those combined into one person more than once is literally like...
It's like 1 in 10,000.
Yeah, it's like 1 in 10,000. It's insane. So luckily, the son had a daughter named Rachel. She grew up in New Zealand. And she always felt this like kind of sense of disconnect. She was like, I just don't think I'm from this family. And I have this real passion for ballet, but nobody in my family dances. Do you know how weird that would be?
That's so weird.
And so she's like, I just don't get it. What's going on? So she ends up going to college. And in college, she meets her birth mother, moves in with her, finds out that she was a total accident, and that they just were on this like ballet trip in New Zealand, accidentally had her, and just left her at the adoption orphanage there.
What a crazy story, too.
Do you want to know what's crazier? So one of the people who has followed us throughout this quote-quote documentary, who is obsessed with this case, literally has dedicated his life. This is the man that went through the phone book every night to find this woman. They're fucking married.
But we have to tell them how.
This man, guys, this man who is obsessed with this case and finding this family just married himself into the case.
But he also only knew her for like 20 hours.
Like, they barely knew each other.
So he invites her to dinner, wasn't it? Like, invites her to dinner, and they're sitting there talking, and she says that they totally hit it off. And Audie, there's so much I wanted to say about this. It was so weird how they filmed this and the interviews.
It was extremely weird.
And they're telling us this story. They're sitting there, and it's so awkward. And she's saying, like, no, we went back to the hotel room, and I think you were only there a few hours before you were begging me to marry you. And he's like, no, you asked me.
And he acts like he did it, but I'm like, you totally begged for this to happen because you wanted to be a part of this case.
And she's like, no, that's not what happened. I just think that their relationship has to be shit. And like, I just want to be like, blink twice if you're not okay.
Yeah, there was some sort of spark there.
Something just magically drew us together. By the following day, we had decided we were going to get married. It all happened remarkably fast.
What are your plans for the next few days?
I think basically the next day you proposed to me, didn't you, love?
That's something I do not remember. I do remember you in your hotel room begging me to marry you.
No, it was you, dear.
So Derek and I got married in 2010, and we now have 3 beautiful children together.
How was that other one gone?
The impact that had on my relationship with my mum, it was hard.
Violet, what mark do you give yourself for your smoothie?
Roma, like a lot of people, I think, felt that our relationship had progressed way too quickly. She was worried that Derek had married me for my DNA.
It was weird. They have 3 kids together, and apparently she gave up her relationship with her mother to be with him. Because, of course, like, I'm thinking it, guys, you're thinking it. She's like, bruh, he only wants to marry you to be a part of the family line.
I'm not even convinced that he's not the murderer.
He literally goes, yeah, a lot of people think of that. I just think it's kind of funny. He did not deny it.
It did not deny it.
There was no denial. So we learned that Jo, who was the 27-year-old woman who came forward to look at the death mask, basically this is now the theory. She did have a husband named George. So everyone thinks that maybe this was like an old lover, and that when he came back to get her, she was like, I have a son, and I have this father figure who he knows that this son isn't his, but has basically been his father his whole life. So I can't just have you butting on in here. So what if she just killed him and took him down to the beach?
That's a good theory.
And then the other theory is that he came back, noticed that the family was completed and they didn't really need him, and went and committed suicide on the beach.
All of these are horrible options.
Or he was a spy and we just have no idea, and she was just very startled because who knows, maybe something happened that night.
What the fuck?
And that's literally all we fucking know. Oh, we just get, sorry guys, we get a whole lot of, oh, well, we want to do all of these tests, but we can't. And that's it. They, like, get our hopes up.
Literally for, like,
trying to do DNA testing, and then they tell us that they're not allowed to.
15 minutes of this documentary is them building your hopes up that they're going to get an answer to this case, and then we never do.
Yep.
And yeah, guys, sorry it's another unsolved, but that's kind of it. But just, I think the craziest part for me is the whole dude just being like, no, we're going to get married. Like, I'm obsessed with this case and we're going to get married.
I cannot, like, I want a whole documentary on just that.
I have so many questions.
It literally says cause of death, homicide, or suicide.
That's a big jump.
That's a very big if. In recent years, additional evidence was emerged. Ongoing DNA analysis of hair roots found on the plastered bust that they made to the death mask. On May 19th, 2021, after a series of requests, the body was exhumed for analyzation. Police stated that the remains were in reasonable condition. So I don't know if they're still looking at it, because that was May of 2021, so it hasn't been a year yet. So
maybe one day we'll get it.
Maybe we'll know soon. Oh my god, I completely didn't know about this. They discovered his suitcase. On January 4th, I'm just going to read this word for word. This is from the Wikipedia page. This is not our notes, you guys. On June 14th, January 1949, staff at the Adeline railway station discovered a brown suitcase with its label removed.
Okay.
Which had been checked into the station cloakroom after 11 a.m. on November 30th, 1984. It was believed that the suitcase was owned by a man found on the beach. In the case was a red checkered dressing gown, a size 7 red felt pair of slippers, 4 pairs of underwear, same, pajamas, shaving items, a large brown pair of trousers with sand in the cuffs. What the fuck? An electrician's screwdriver, a table knife cut down into a short, sharp instrument, a pair of scissors with sharpened points, a small square of zinc thought to have been used as a protective sheath for the knife and scissors, and a stenciling brush, as used by third officers on merchant ships for stenciling cargo.
What?
What the fuck? Literally, that sounds like they went on a date on the beach, she murdered him there, stuffed everything in the suitcase, and then threw it at the train station.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that sounds like.
But he wasn't stabbed or anything.
But the dress and the shoes, that's like a lady's outfit. And then it was a man's outfit.
Wait, I think that's a cultural thing. I don't think that means, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like, I think a dressing suit.
No, not a dressing suit. It's like a dress.
Oh, when you said that, I thought you meant like an overcoat.
In the case was a red checkered dressing gown.
Dressing gown.
Google that. Is that a robe? A dressing gown? Would that be a robe?
That's what I thought.
And a size 7 pair of red felt slippers. So that makes sense if it was just a robe and slippers.
Yeah, it's a robe.
Okay, so also in the suitcase was a thread card of Bourbon brand orange wax thread of a quote-unquote unusual type, not available in Australia. So that would confirm the theory that he was a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same used to repair the lining in a pocket of the trousers the dead man was wearing. Why was this not in the fucking documentary? This seems like very...
vital information.
All identification marks on the clothing had been removed, but the police found the name T. Keenan on a tie, Keenan on a laundry bag, and Keen on a slinglet. What the fuck? Along with 3 dry cleaning marks for different dates. Police believe that whoever removed the clothing tags either overlooked these 3 items or purposefully left the Keenan tags on the clothing, knowing that Keenan was not the dead man's name. With wartime rationing still in force, clothing was difficult to acquire at the time. Although it was very common practice to use name tags, it was also common when buying secondhand clothing to remove the tags of the previous owners. So I mean, yeah, but police checked incoming train records and believed that the man had arrived at the railway station by overnight train from either Melbourne, Sydney, or Port Augusta. They speculated he had showered and shaved at the city baths. There was no bath ticket on his body, though. But before returning to the train station to purchase a ticket for the 10:50 a.m. train to Henley Beach, which was, for whatever reason, he missed or did not catch, he immediately checked his suitcase at the station cloakroom before leaving the station and catching a city bus to Glenlake. So weird that they did not mention that suitcase at fucking all. There's photos of it.
You know what? It just goes to show that you guys just come to Serial Sistaaas and we will tell you. Guys, this is really this is what our podcast is. It's just a live happy hour. So thanks for hanging out with us as we just live Google everything.
So in November of 2016, 60 Minutes did an investigation about it, and I guess a special on it. Relatives of Joe gave interviews, which was the 27-year-old woman, gave interviews to the Channel 9 Current Affairs program. Oh, she had a daughter, too. Yeah, they didn't even talk about her. She had a daughter named Kate.
They said, we want this to be 20 minutes.
What the fuck? Yeah. Whoa. She suggested that her mother and Somerton may have both been spies, noting that Jessica Thompson taught English to immigrants, was interested in communication, and could speak Russian.
Damn, that's cool.
Although she would not disclose to her daughter where she had learned it or why. In January 1949, 2 people identified the body as a 63-year-old former woodcutter named Robert Walsh.
Likely story.
Right? A third person, James Mack, also viewed the body, initially could not identify it, but an hour later contacted the police to claim it was Walsh. Okay, sure.
What? What? Oh, hey guys, I know I said that I didn't know that guy, but I thought about it.
And he claims the reason why is because of the color of his hair looked different. What the fuck?
What?
This is crazy, but yeah, like, that's pretty much all that we know.
You have a different hair color every time you show up to my house, and I know who you are.
You know, but you would be shocked at the people that don't.
Guys, sorry this episode was kind of... I'm not sorry.
I'm not sorry.
I'm not sorry.
Gave you very informative information.
But I know it's not the traditional, you can't exactly go watch this, and that was last week too. So next week, we will give you a for real documentary to cover. It will definitely be one of your requests. And if you have a request, you can DM us on Instagram. We are Serial Sistaaas. That's Sistaaas with 3 A's, Sistaas on Instagram and TikTok. You can find us at ssistas on Twitter. Audie, where can they find you?
Yeah, you almost forgot me. I'm Awkwardaudie on all the things. Where can they find you?
I am DevinDennisXoXo on everything, and you already know where we can find us because I did it backwards today. So, hit you with a theme song. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Outro first off, second.
Damn.
You gonna hit us with it? What the fuck?
It's feeling like a 90s DJ for a moment. What?
Damn it, I'm gonna kill that now.
And...
Sistaaas! We learned that, like, ballet does play a big part, and I just thought it was funny considering we are both dancers and we both have, and one still does, work in a dance studio. I don't know. I always like when, like, the two worlds collide that way.
I feel like we end up doing a lot of cults with ballet in them. Like, just the overall performance. Well, she said it, not me, but I agreed with it.
The process of making a death mask is the same process if you were to make a special effects cast of your face, which I have done.
Go on. I'm just picturing you like iCarly and Spencer with the breathing tubes and the giant...
That's what it is! That's like literally what it is!
The amount of birds that I have to edit out of this podcast now that it's summer, and like I know people are gonna be fucking annoyed with it, but there's so many birds. Because I just love that you're like, no, bitch. Like, I'm thinking if that happened to me and I would be like, yeah, okay, thanks.
No, bitch.
And the fact that you're like, no. I just love it about you. I'm not ready for this. I need a safe place, and I need to know.